us Mr. Vipin Shet, Regional Partner Advisory of BDO since January 2010. Out of 20 years of total experience, Mr. Vipin has been in the advisory practice of BDO, KPMG and PwC. A mechanical engineer and MBA, Mr. Vipin has worked across multiple sectors in the GCC with a focus on performance improvement, risk advisory and IT services. Dear all, please welcome Mr. Vipin to deliver his speech, Integration of Governance, Risk Management and Internal Control to Achieve Corporate Success. I would request C. Akhil Mishra to please come and hand over a bouquet to welcome Mr. Vipin. You keep clapping.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kapil. Thanks a lot, all of you, committee members and all my fellow colleagues here. It's really a privilege and honor for me and my colleague Arshad to be here with you and share some of our thought processes and have some interactive session. Unfortunately, Arshad couldn't make it because of the sad demise of his mother just day before yesterday. So I apologize on his behalf about his not being able to make it. But I have the onus of doing justice to this presentation from his side as well. And particularly after lunch, I know the onus increases further. And that's where I need a lot of cooperation and help from you guys. I don't want to make it a monologue. I want to make it as interactive as possible with everybody being here, trying to put their opinions in front, because this is a very interesting topic. It is very relevant topic for all the professionals, all the accountants, not only in Bahrain but from all over the world, because people are facing issues mainly related to governance, internal controls and risks. Now, there are various definitions of corporate success, and of course accountants are the best one to define what is corporate success. I would like to start with Sanjay probably. I've just taken him off guard because he was sleeping. So, Sanjay, according to you, what is corporate governance, success? Yes? Brand and profit for you is corporate success. Anybody else who wants to talk about what is corporate success? Please, Mr. Mistry. Sustainability of the corporation, okay. Corporate objectives to be achieved. Anyone else? How many people benefit because of your operations? Continued growth. All of these definitions are correct, and there cannot be a single definition of corporate success. Successful IPO, maybe that is reflected in terms of investors' confidence in you. Absolutely. So the first definition is that, giving returns to your shareholders. Why the company exists basically is because shareholders put their money to get some returns out of their investments, and therefore you as management, you as a board are responsible to give them returns on their investments. Yeah. Little bit if you extend the definition. Yeah. Today somebody was saying that how do you ensure long-term sustainability? Mr. Mistry also you spoke about sustainability, and it is not about just giving short-term returns. This year we made handsome profits. We applied some corrupt practices. We compromised on quality. We got 30% return. Yeah. But at the same time, because of these issues that you compromised on, maybe it is quality, maybe it is the corrupt practices that you followed, that somewhere down the line, all of these risks will haunt you and actually will jeopardize your enterprise. Yeah. So you have to ensure that not only you are giving short-term returns to your shareholders, but also at the same time you are giving them sustainability of the enterprise over a long term. Yeah. That also is an important objective. Some people would simply put it as if, that I am, as a shareholders, we are giving you certain resources, yeah, maybe financial resources mainly, that can be translated into other resources, and then what kind of output have you given us? So what is the value add that the entity has provided, yeah, to the shareholders? But I believe that we have to look at the broader definition, and I'm sure that you will agree with me, that it is not about just meeting shareholders' expectations, because we are not here only answerable to the shareholders. Yeah? We are answerable to our customers to whom we provide our products and services. We are answerable to our suppliers. We are answerable to regulators who actually regulate us, who wants to put us good practices in our organization, give them disclosures on our reporting, yeah, and most importantly, as Dr. Sitharaman said, that we are also here to do corporate social responsibility, which means that if we are not having social responsibilities on us and we are only here to make money, maybe we will not be respected. So this is what the corporate success is all about in a nutshell, that we are largely responsible to all the shareholders. Now, if you look at it, who is responsible? I mean, fine, corporate success is what it is, but then who is responsible? Typically, there are three layers of responsibilities. One is definitely the board of directors, who are appointed by the shareholders. Yeah. Then there are senior management, the C-level guys, CEOs, CFOs, and chief audit executives, and so on. And there are employees. Now, what they do actually, yeah. So basically, the board is responsible to put a strategy and monitor the performance of the organization. Yeah. The board will be responsible for saying that what is the objective of our company, what should be our 5-year plan, what should be our 1-year plan, what kind of performance indicator we should look at to make sure that we are able to achieve our objectives, yeah, and how well are we doing against our plan. So that kind of framework, that kind of structure the board puts. Yeah. Now, what is management doing? Management necessarily are being given resources. Yeah. So they put business processes in place, they put technology in place, they put structure, they put people, they recruit people, they make sure that the resources are organized to deliver objectives set forth by the board. Yeah. So they also have the responsibility to ensure that their activities are aligned to the board objectives. And third, of course, all the employees, they have to work within the systems of the companies, right? We have policies, we have procedures, we have rules, regulations. So employees cannot deviate from those set of rules. They have to well behave within those set of rules. They are given their performance objectives, maybe at a departmental level, maybe at the individual level, and that's what they strive to achieve. Yeah? If these three set of people or within the organization are working well, then we are able to achieve corporate success. Now, how does corporate governance, risk, and internal control play a role in making sure that these three layers are operating in alignment, in an integrated manner to achieve corporate success? That's what we will basically go through and have some deliberations on. Please feel free to ask me any questions at any time. If you feel that I'm sleeping, please awake me, because I also had lunch like you guys. Yeah, so please. Now let's look at the definition of corporate governance. We know yesterday, Mr. Saleh Hussain actually put forward a very good definition of corporate governance, and he said, the resources that we are putting to direct and control an enterprise. Yeah, that was the definition that he put. And that's what I am, also having here, in front of you. Now, again, who are responsible for the corporate governance that we discussed? The shareholders, the board of directors, and the employees, they are responsible. And there are certain principles of corporate governance. Yeah. The first is that accountability, which is very, very important. Who is accountable to whom? Yeah. Management is accountable to the board, and board is accountable to the shareholders. We should not be shying away from these accountability in order to ensure that there is a corporate governance which is working properly. Another thing is about the fairness. Now, which fairness are we talking about here? We are talking about fairness amongst all shareholders, especially not treating minority shareholders with disrespect or not keeping their interest in mind, so that basically the board has to ensure that there is an equitable, rights of all shareholders which are exercised in all the decision making. Transparency is very important. Now it depends whether you are a listed company, whether you are regulated by the regulators, or whether you are a small size organization. Really doesn't matter. Transparency has to be set at the by the board as a tone, and you need to make sure that you are transparent in terms of material disclosures of your financials and operational matters. So maybe if you are regulated by CBB, you will have certain levels of disclosures, but if you are a WLL or an SPC company, the disclosures might be very limited. But you need to make sure that you are able to disclose those reporting requirements in a fair and equitable manner. And independence is also another important thing. You don't allow colluding within the organization. You make sure that conflict of interest are protected and segregation of duties do exist. So if you are ensuring those principles across your levels of organization, you are giving, basically a reasonable assurance to your shareholders that corporate governance is working well in your organization. Yeah? Is that fine? I mean, am I going very slow, very fast? Or if it is, please let me know. I will be able to change my tone or, change the level at which I am speaking as well. Coming to internal controls now, I mean, what comes to your mind when we talk about internal controls? Anybody? I mean, what do we mean by internal controls? We are all accountants and we do this day in and day out. Yeah, internal controls, internal controls. What is that? Checks and balances, right? Okay. Proper policies, procedures. Okay. Compliance, right? Automatic red flags. Okay. No management override, right? Now, all of these things, why are we doing? I mean, do we have that, fair for basically power? Do we, as an accountants, do we love power? Everything should come to me. If you want a payroll to be approved, come to me. If you want a leave to be approved, come to me. If you want your credit to be approved, come to me. Are we thinking that we are control freaks? I don't think. That's not an objective. What you are trying to do is basically you are trying to achieve certain objectives within the organization, right? As an internal control, what you are trying to do is you are trying to look at basically three factors. Yeah? One is that your entity has certain objectives, correct? Now, those objectives could be that you want to get into new market. Those objectives could be that you want to launch new products and services. You want to improve your customer satisfaction. Yeah, those could be your objectives. Now, you have, as an internal control, you have to look at whether these objectives are getting met or not. That is one. Second, we discussed about reporting. Yeah, and we spoke about saying, there could be internal reporting, there could be external reporting. Internal reporting to our shareholders also is very important, and you need to have a reasonable assurance that we are giving accurate and timely reports. Yeah. That's another objective which you want to achieve as internal controls. And the third objective which you want to achieve is compliance. Somebody said compliance. Compliance to rules and regulations. You always want to ensure to your shareholders, to your larger community of stakeholders that we are doing all our business operations within the rules and regulations of the land and we are not overruling any of those things. That assurance on objectives, on your compliance and reporting is what internal control is trying to achieve. Yeah? And I have taken here help of COSO framework to actually define what is internal controls. Yeah? And this is the three-dimensional cube of internal controls. Most of you must be familiar, or if you want to spend me 2 minutes explaining this, I can do that. Do you want me to explain or should we? Yeah? Okay. Now, if you look at it, operations, reporting and compliance is what we spoke about in terms of internal control objectives. Yeah? Operations, we took examples saying if I want to launch new product, if I want to improve my quality, if I want to ensure customer or employee satisfaction, those are my objectives. Yeah? Reporting we discussed, compliance we discussed. Those objectives could be applicable across your group company, across a particular department or a particular business unit. That's the third dimension. Second dimension. And the third dimension is about the 5 components of internal controls, which are very important. Even if one component is missing, you are not ensuring reasonableness of your achievement of your objectives. Yeah? Now, what is control environment? Control environment is the tone at the top. What kind of leadership you have in place in terms of board of directors, in terms of owners in small companies, in terms of management, what kind of systems have you put in place? Are they properly regulated? Are they properly defined? Yeah? So that's the tone at the top, which is very important in terms of saying that whether the internal controls are going to work as designed or as required by my environment. Yeah? That's the internal control. Risk assessment. Now again, when we talk about any objective, any strategic objectives to be achieved, we are subjected to risk. We are not living in an ideal world where we put theoretical objectives in front of us and say that we are going to achieve the objectives, let's work towards it. So definitely there are risks which will come to achieve our objectives, and we need to do risk assessment to ensure that what are those risks? Are we able to control them? Are we able to mitigate them? Are we able to transfer them? You are aware of all of these concepts. And therefore, you assume certain risks. You take calculated risks to achieve your objectives. Unless and until you take those risks, you are not going to achieve your objectives. Now, that's where internal control comes into picture, where you are saying that, okay, if I'm assuming this risk, I need to control it. I need to make sure that it is within my risk appetite. That's where you put controls into picture. Controls could mean defining policies. Controls could mean defining procedures. Controls could mean defining IT. Somebody mentioned about, automating the control, making sure that, checks and balances are there. That's the kind of control that we put. Information and communication component, again, is not about reporting. Yeah, it is about communicating other objectives. How well my tone at the top is working. Sorry. How well my controls are in place. Do they need to improve? Do they need to be appropriate or not? Those internal communication. Now, these communication could be to external stakeholders as well as internal stakeholders. And monitoring activities are also important. Your business operations will change. The risk will change. You might get into new geography. You might get into new products and services. Your organization structure could change. Are the controls that you have put in place, are they working well? Are they appropriate? Do we need to improve them? That's monitoring and control. Now, all of these 5 components has to work properly to give a reasonable assurance that we are able to achieve our objectives of achieving, the effectiveness of operations, reporting, and compliance. Yeah, that's in a nutshell how internal controls should work. If you look at risk management, when we talk about risk management, we not talk about at the lowest level in terms of what is the risk if the product goes wrong, what is the risk if the key dependency on a person, if he doesn't come to the office, what happens? No, when we talk about risk management, we are talking about in a strategic context. Yeah, our entity has to achieve objectives for which it is established. What does it mean is that if a bank is established to do retail business, it will need to put strategic objectives of achieving retail banking operations. If you are an automotive dealer, you need to make sure that you are achieving the objectives agreed with your principal in terms of sales volumes of your vehicles or parts and after sales service and so on and so forth. And you would put some 5-year, 10-year strategic objectives in front of you. And you need, so therefore, risk management will be applied in the strategic context. When we talk about achieving our business vision, mission, corporate objectives, that's where risk management comes into picture. And definitely, as we said earlier, that we are not living in an ideal world. We will be subjected to risk when we are targeting to achieve these strategic objectives. Yeah, and therefore, we will take certain decisions after we know what risk are we subjected to. Yeah, we might avoid the risk. For example, if somebody, sitting in Bahrain tells you that, go to Afghanistan and start a business there, you might say that, there are too many political or financial risks and therefore I want to avoid going into Afghanistan. So basically you have avoided the risk. You are also avoiding to achieve an objective of diversifying into a new geography. Yeah, you might share risk. You might therefore, insure risk by taking insurance products for various business operations. You might accept a risk. Yeah, because you want to achieve an objective, so there has to be a balance between risk and rewards. And therefore, risk management basically addresses that layer of risk which entity has on achieving its strategic objectives. So you want to mitigate and control the risk of which are there to achieving your strategic objectives. So now you see that the risk assessment that we did for internal controls is more at an operational level in terms of whether 3-way matching exists or not. Yeah, and here you are talking about whether I should get into a new geography, should I get into new investment, what kind of political, geographical, foreign exchange risk I am subjected to. So you are talking about doing risk assessment at 2 different levels, and that's where the issue is in terms of having separation between the 2. Yeah. Again, taking help of COSO, there are these definitions of risk, and as you can see that the control objectives of enterprise risk management actually are more widened. There is more higher definition of how we do risk management in terms of identifying our objectives and doing a risk assessment, coming up with mitigative action plan, and then it follows again in terms of controls, information communication, monitoring activities. Yeah? So, if you see, the ERM framework actually encompasses internal controls. But the issue is, organizations implement ERM in isolations, organizations implement governance in isolation. Sometimes, they have integrated internal controls and risk management, but they may not have a proper governance in place. Either of these elements, like these are the three pillars of the organization to achieve corporate success, and if either of this pillar is not there, we are definitely having a risk to achieve our corporate objectives. And that's where, the complete discussion comes into picture. Now, let's see how do we see these three components, yeah? Governance, risk and internal controls, how do they apply in real context? Yeah? This is a typical life cycle of any organization, yeah? You have mission, vision, values of your organization, yeah? Now, to achieve your objectives and, mission, what you do is basically you define your strategy and plan, yeah? Every organization here, is anybody there who say that, we do not define our strategy? Everybody has, right? Whether it is documented or it is informal. We do have a plan. We do work towards having a proper objectives to achieve, yeah? Every organization do that. We implement them. We monitor how well we are compared to our strategic objectives, and we review them. Are we doing right? Did we achieve what we set in the beginning or not? Yeah, that's what typically we do, and every year, and this becomes a cycle. Now, how these three components are integrated into these four dimensions, let's see. If you see, objective setting is a governance domain, yeah? You define strategic objectives, you define operational objectives, you define reporting objectives, and you define compliance objectives. Don't define only saying, we want to increase our revenues by 10% or 15% or 20% without knowing what all other objectives I have to meet. That I am responsible to achieve my compliance, I am responsible to achieve my reporting requirements, I am responsible to achieve my operational objectives. So you have to ensure that on all four dimensions you are defining your objectives. Yeah? We discussed that if I have to achieve objectives, it is subjected to risk, and therefore I need to have proper risk mitigation plans in place. I avoid risk, I transfer risk, yeah? And that's where the risk management comes into picture. Now, again, governance comes into picture because if the board of directors are putting a strategy in place, they put also performance indicators and risk indicators, yeah? To ensure that we are able to monitor. They should. They should, sometimes they don't. They just put a strategy in place, but they don't put the performance indicators. Implementation normally is a management responsibility. You use resources, you put policies, processes in place, you put controls in place, you put IT systems in place, you bring people, and you try to achieve your objectives, and this is all part of controls. Again, when we come to monitoring, we are not just two things we monitor. First is against our strategy and plan, against our performance indicators, how well are we doing? That's the regular monitoring. Another important monitoring which organizations should do is really, is my risk profile changing? Political changes will happen in the country. Marketplace will change. Foreign exchange risk you will have. You will have to continuously ask this question as an accountant that, is my organization's risk profile changing? What I need to do? If it is significantly changing, am I going to achieve my objectives or not? Yeah? And then, if you are having a significant change in the risk profile, which means that there might be new opportunities, there might be new risks which you need to capitalize on, and therefore you need to again question whether my strategy is right, whether I will be able to achieve it, should I change my course of action or not. And this is where you can see the three components getting interrelated: governance, risk, and internal controls. If either of this is not there, we will definitely have certain consequences, and these are some of the consequences which we can talk about. When we say corporate governance will not be there, I mean, do you think that for example you are a CFO of an organization, The board do not understand anything related to internal controls or risk management. They just are giving you targets and they go home after half an hour of quarterly meeting. And you want to put all your systems in place. Yeah, you want to say that to the sales guy that no, you cannot sell at such, by giving excessive credit. Yeah, you want to put some controls. He will go to the manager, to the owner and say, this CFO is crazy. He always, think of credit risk. Whereas you have given me top line target, let me achieve my revenue. Yeah. So what will happen is that the controls that you want to put will not be sustainable. So corporate governance has to be very strong, first of all, as a prerequisite for your risk management and internal control to work. That's very important fundamental, thing. If you look at it from presence point of view, yeah, if you are implementing internal controls, if you are implementing risk management, the first question that you as the person who is actually, looking at the methodology or the framework of implementing these systems, you should ask the board, the first question is, what are our strategic objectives? Unless and until you tell me in a, smart strategic objectives, I am not going to go down. Don't ask me to put internal controls for the sake of putting internal controls. Don't ask me to look at risk for the sake of, general risk. No. Tell me what are our organizational smart objectives. After that only I will make sure that our internal controls are appropriately designed and implemented. Yeah? So that's another important thing. If you look at, absence of risk management, there are, it will, basically it will put your internal control systems into jeopardy. Because you don't know what risk are you assuming. What risk have you transferred? You are not aware of, your risk exposure altogether. So that then what you are doing is maybe being on a conservative side, you are putting too much of controls. Maybe that is prohibiting your organization to be agile, to be flexible, to be responsive to your marketplace, or you are putting too little controls. Everybody knows what they have to do. Yeah, when I have to worry about my trial balance and I have to worry about my financial statements, that's what I'm good at. I don't want to understand, how the operations work. My philosophy is, I know IFRS concepts, I know financial statement preparation, I will only focus on that. But what operational risk I'm facing as an organization, I will shy away from that because I don't understand business. So those risks will be there in absence of risk management systems. And obviously, if you don't have internal controls, you don't know whether you are giving any reasonable assurance to your shareholders that objectives will be achieved. Because you don't know. You don't know whether you will be able to have a reliable report. You don't know whether how far you are from your achievement of your strategic objectives, and you don't know whether you are complying to CBB or MOIC rules, because you don't know anything as such. So therefore, absence of internal controls is completely no in terms of acceptability. Now, what the integration will achieve, having understood that absence of any of these pillars, are detrimental to the organization. Risk management and internal controls are nothing but the two sides of the same coin. Yeah, that you agree that risk management identifies the risk and internal control counters the risks. Yeah, and they have to coexist within the corporate governance framework. These are again theoretical concepts. I don't want to take much of your time on this, but what we are trying to achieve by integrating the three is that we are able to improve our corporate performance, we are able to mitigate our risk, and we are able to give reasonable assurance to our shareholders and other stakeholders that we will be able to achieve our objectives and we will be able to achieve the purpose for which we exist. Yeah? That assurance, if you want to give, you need to integrate the three components. I'll skip this for time being, but let me get into integration challenges. And before I do that, I will like to again take a break here, and I want to ask you, having understood, and you must be relating in your minds, those who are still awake, that what challenges you must have faced in your organization, right? Everybody would have tried to implement internal control. Maybe some risk CRO exists here. Maybe, chief of internal controls is there. What integration challenges did you foresee or did you experience? Ram? No cooperation from top management. Very good. Nath, what is your experience? I mean, in terms of what, as an outsider, as an assurance provider, what have you seen? Lack of communication. Okay. Acceptance. When you say ground level, is employees and the head of the departments. Okay.
Their perspectives.
Conflicting objectives, you mean?
And friction, lack of appreciation between each other's function.
Okay. So lack of knowledge in terms of what you do and what I do, but silos of operations rather than having a process or an integrated view, right? Lack of panel provisions. When you say panel provisions, can you please elaborate? Penal provisions, yes, yes.
Unless it is a modern risk management and modern internal audit, it is a big hindrance to business development.
Yes.
Usually. I have found it on the other side of the table.
Right.
If it is a traditional internal auditor or risk manager who is just picking business, then following policy procedure, not realizing the broad objectives of the organization,
Right.
then it is a big hindrance to the business. And at times, the small deviance from the policies of corporate governance are done by the top level people.
Right.
Like the board people or the CEO people, and these people are not capable to write against them.
Right.
There is total lack of
Awareness and lack of commitment.
and unless they are modern, having modern outlook to aid AID
Right.
to the success of the business, they are a big hindrance to business.
Hindrance to the business development, yeah. Somebody else had some point? Resistance to change, right? It should add value. I mean, don't put controls, but correct. Just answering to that, it should add value. Again, if you have strategic objectives defined and you define your internal controls, you are giving more agility to take risks. But then people, if they do not look at strategic objectives and just put controls, then, the feeling that, you are just monitoring and not allowing us to operate. Anything else in terms of integration?
Executive management and board level, they think they are the owner of the company
Right.
and they are above the rules.
Okay. Rules are applicable down below, not to them. Sorry? Lack of accountability and responsibility, right? Sorry? Time frame in which something needs to be implemented. Right. I think, all the points that you mentioned are very, very relevant and, I think I have captured them and, so first is that if you look at it, internal control, as somebody said, it's more of a compliance requirement, yeah? Okay. There is a mention there, that I need to have internal control function in my organization. I have to report to CBB. I have to report to the regulators. So therefore, I need to have compliance function, yeah? Sorry? You have to show them that, I have internal control because they are giving assurance on your behalf, yeah? So you need to have internal controls anyway to give them assurance, yeah? So, but you are not convinced yourself that, controls are required. Yeah, it's more of a compliance that you want to do. Lack of awareness at the top level, you mentioned about it, and will. They don't, it's good to talk to them about all of these issues. You also can highly appreciate and you can go back and tell them, they'll say, it's okay, good Baba, for, conference, okay, not for us, let's work. Yeah, so, because they don't have that will to implement it because it will mean transparency, it will mean accountability. They are not willing to do that because, information is power. Maybe, I know better. I don't want to put so much of professionalism into place. There could be a number of reasons. Another could be that regulatory requirements rather than internal needs are driving, all of these requirements. If you see, who is putting? Corporate Governance Code of Conduct has come in Bahrain. So they are asking you to put, proper board. They are telling you independent directors. They are telling you non-executive directors. They are telling you how many should be there in the audit committee and how much of them should be independent and non-executive. So they are giving you prescriptions, right? So you are, okay, then they are still telling you also that there has to be a risk management function. So you are saying, oh, I don't have budget, but you know, I will tell that I am going to recruit. Yeah, within 6 months we will fill up the position. So all you are trying to do is only ticking the box rather than you believing yourself that these functions are important to yourself, not for CBP. Yeah, this is another important challenge that you have in integrating these three. Another view is risk management is strategic, internal controls is operational, they need not integrate. If once in 5 years, if I am defining business strategy, I will think of risk management. That's it. It's more strategic. Don't integrate this framework. What ERM has to do with internal controls, you know, I mean, keep them aside. We have CRO who will take care of ERM, we have internal controls manager or a CFO who will take care of internal controls. Don't talk to each other, okay? So there is again a separation here. 5 minutes, good. Only have 5 minutes, so I have been controlled. But whether I'll be able to achieve my objectives or not, I don't know within 5 minutes. Okay, then you know there are separate systems and processes which exist in the organization. Yeah, we discussed that. Lack of tools and systems. You might ask me a question, you know, Bipin, you talk about so much of integration. Can you tell me a single framework where governance, risk and internal controls are integrated? I will have a tough time. I have showed you COSO framework where risk management and internal control is integrated, but governance doesn't come into picture so much. So basically the issuers, the regulators all over the world are fighting with this issue in terms of how do we integrate the three into a common framework. In my opinion, governance should tackle more of internal controls and risk management. Separate guidelines. Yeah, you go, you have, you know, Sarbanes-Oxley Act, you have Basel III, you have so many other regulations which are governing your risk management internal controls. There is no single framework worldwide. If a multinational wants to implement a single framework across their operations in 50 countries, look at the hurdles and challenges that they have in each and every country to implement. There is no single regulatory framework. These are some of the integration challenges. Of course, now how the integration can be achieved, there are various layers at which it can be achieved. First starts with governance, where you need to understand, you know, the board has to understand their roles and responsibilities. You need to have proper committees. The committees will have to have proper charters and they have to really go by the rule book for which they are supposed to operate and not really just tick in the box. We hand the committee, we had minutes of meeting circulated. Yeah. Management at the C level has to take the responsibility of designing, implementing, improving, you know, your risk management and internal control systems. Employees need to be accountable. They need to be more aware. Unless and until they are aware, they will not be able to adhere to the systems that you are putting in place. Another thing also is that as a CRO or as an internal controls manager, do not assume any risk. The risk of credit control, the risk of approving payments, the risk of getting into new geography do not belong to you as a CRO. It belongs to the line function. CRO only puts frameworks and methods in place so that the line functions can assess risk. The line functions can own the controls. Every decision has to be taken in the line of risk assessment and internal controls. Yeah, every decision that you take in the organization, put a risk assessment and an internal control framework into it. Training and performance management, more importantly, apart from, we discussed about the training, education, but rather than just putting performance measures of higher sales, lowering cost, okay, put a performance measure of how well somebody is adhering to the internal controls. Because if he's not, he is taking excessive risk to achieve his performance targets. So embedded internal control achievement into performance appraisals of the staff. Business processes, you don't create separate business process for risk management, separate business process for controls. Within the core business processes, try to integrate risk and internal control. Then only it will work, otherwise you will have excessive cost, frustration, in your organizational culture. More important, monitoring and evaluation, we all know in terms of, independently monitoring or internally monitoring, but I want to talk about disclosures more here. Disclosure in terms of what kind of structures you have in place, in terms of corporate governance, in terms of risk management, in terms of internal controls, yeah, how that structure is working, Is it working well or not? So you need to have disclosures. Now, if you are a listed company, you need to disclose it onto your website, onto the regulators. If you are not a listed company, but still you need to have disclosures to the shareholders. And not only about the structure, but also about what are the significant risks that your organization is subjected to. What kind of controls have you put in place? How well the controls are working, yeah, and what are the risks your organization is subjected to. These kind of disclosures you have to ensure. And if you are talking about this kind of disclosures, you are talking about integrating the three components. Frameworks and standards we spoke about, and therefore there has to be some work which needs to be done in terms of integrating these standards. Now, as accountants, I mean, why are we talking about this subject here? Because with your professional background, with your knowledge, with the positions that you have in your respective organizations, you have a significant role to play in terms of integration. And that's what you need to ensure in your day-to-day function. And these are some of the expectations that are there from the accountants world over. The first is to actually make sure that important decisions in your organizations are based on proper risk assessment. Don't take decisions on the fly. Apply risk assessment into the decision making. Ensure that you have risk function, you have control functions in your organization, that there are risk owners and control owners. You don't assume all the responsibility. You don't say, I'm a CFO, but I'm also a CRO and I'm also an internal controls guy. Don't try to wear 3, 4 hats at the same time. And also, by the way, I'm on the board of directors as an advisor to the board. Yeah, so you need to have proper segregation of duties and make sure that the culture is getting embedded and accepted across the organization rather than you trying to do all the things, because it will not be sustainable. The third thing is to create awareness about integration at all levels, acting as coach, acting as trainers on these three topics within your organization is very important in terms of achieving the integration. You need to incorporate performance control objectives as we discussed in the appraisals of people. Controls need to be embedded in normal course of business rather than having additional layers. You need to ensure that as accountants in your organization. And you need to implement systems to monitor and report how well these three components are working within your organization. And some of you will definitely be playing an important role in terms of creating opinions, creating advices with the regulators, with the professional bodies in terms of making, hearing your opinion, making your opinions heard, and therefore creating more stringent rules, regulations, applicable controls, whatever frameworks and methodologies for the integration. Yeah. So these are the primary roles of the accountants to make sure that integration works, not for anything else, but for achieving corporate success. Thank you so much. I've, I think, done my bit, maybe 5-6 minutes, but thank you so much for hearing me out, and thank you so much for participation. Thank you so much.